So consummate love, the ideal where you have all three, as I mentioned, is easy to do for a while, but it's hard to maintain over time. It's easy to lose the passion component and then fall into companionate love. So here are 7 different options, but there are actually 8 possible types of love, according to Sternberg. In the 8th, you don't have any of the 3. That would be non-love. It can sometimes be easier to think of the triangular theory of love as the actual triangle if you are more inclined to graph form or table form. Here's another way of representing the different types. So liking, infatuated love, and empty love are all a one-component type of love. In romantic love, companionate love, or fatuous love, you have 2 of the 3. And consummate love, the ideal, is where you have all 3. Module 27 also talks about divorce or ending relationships. When you're reading through this section, look for the ratio of positive to negative interactions that's associated with happy couples or happy relationships. Be sure you note also who has a higher divorce rate, communal cultures or individualistic cultures, and why. And also note the characteristics that are associated with a lower risk for divorce. And be sure that you can differentiate those characteristics from characteristics associated with a couple's happiness or unhappiness. On page 355, the book lists a few predictors of divorce, things that aren't what you would expect. Be sure to note those 3 things. Moving on to conflict and causes of conflict. The book describes conflict or defines conflict as a perceived incompatibility of actions or goals. The book talks about 2 social dilemmas, which basically pit one person against another person or one person against a group. In the first of the 2 social dilemmas, the prisoner's dilemma, you have 2 people who are seemingly pitted against each other. This one can get confusing, so I wanted to make sure to walk it through step by step. You might see a situation a lot like this on a procedural cop drama like Law and Order or Criminal Minds. In the prisoner's dilemma, the police officer is trying to get a confession. The police officer doesn't have enough evidence to convict either Selena or Bruce of the serious crime that she thinks they've committed, so she's trying to get one of them to roll over on the other one. Then the person who confessed will get a deal for no jail time, and the other person, who didn't confess, would get 10 years of jail time. You can see these 2 outcomes in the upper right-hand and lower left-hand corners. Alternately, both Bruce and Selena might confess. If that happens, if they both confess, they'll have evidence that they were both involved and they'll both get 5 years. That outcome is in the upper left-hand corner. However, if Bruce and Selena work together and neither confesses, they'll both be convicted of the lesser crime and they'll each only get 1 year of jail time. If you look at the amount of jail time collectively for each outcome for each of those 4 quadrants, you can see that all but one of the outcomes results in a total of 10 years of jail time. So if one confesses but the other doesn't, 0 plus 10 is 10. If both confess, 5 plus 5 is 10. But the best case scenario, when neither of them confesses, results in only 2 total years of jail time. There's a scene from the movie The Dark Knight that is inspired by the prisoner's dilemma. I posted a video on Scholar that's about 5 minutes long, so be sure you check that out. While you're watching it, try to make a table like the one shown here so that you can identify the possible outcomes. The book discusses conflict between groups. I posted a video about the Robbers Cave experiment on Scholar. And as you watch it, try to answer these questions. First, what is the most minimal factor? What's the smallest thing that could lead to conflict between 2 groups? Second, how does the Rattler's bravado relate to discussions in Module 20? This is shown around 2 minutes and 20 seconds in the video. And when I say bravado, I mean their attitude about their own group, about the other groups. How is the campers' behavior like the behavior of the college students in the Stanford prison experiment? And last, what helped eliminate the prejudice between the two groups of campers? The book also discusses perceived injustice. Be sure to tie that back in with Module 27 with discussions of equity in relationships. There is also a section looking at shifting perceptions, which reflects how you perceive other groups and how that can change. A good illustration of a statement from the shifting perceptions section, "The enemy of my enemy is my friend," is from the Lord of the Rings movie, The Return of the King. Let me just nerd out for a moment and explain this example. In Tolkien, the author's fantasy universe, dwarves and elves have a long rivalry. However, with a common enemy of orcs, Gimli, the dwarf pictured at the top, becomes good friends with Legolas, the elf pictured at the bottom. So the enemy of the dwarves, which are the orcs, is also the enemy of the elves, and therefore the dwarves and the elves become friends. This storyline in general perpetuates the idea that there is one good side and one bad side. Most people think of themselves as good, so that automatically means that the group that you do not belong to is the bad one. I posted a video of a comedy skit that shows the unlikely scenario in which someone questions whether they really are on the good side. Looking forward to week 13. I've kept this week fairly light so that you will have time to work on your group projects. As far as reading goes, you will read modules 26, 27, and 28. There are a number of videos that I've posted. The ones that are optional I have indicated as optional. Be sure that you have watched the instructional videos. Do watch the video on the prisoner's dilemma from the movie The Dark Knight, and do watch Sheriff's Robbers Cave experiment video. Those are both about 5 minutes long. And there are other additional videos that you can watch that are just for fun or for extra information. Then be sure you complete Quiz 10 by Sunday at midnight, the usual deadline, and be working on your group project. So incorporate the rough draft feedback that you will be getting this week into your final paper drafts, and begin working on your presentation. It's generally easiest to start working on your presentation once you have your final paper pretty much hammered out. You can basically just take pieces from each of the sections, so from the introduction section, the methods section, the results section, and you can just literally copy and paste into a poster or a paper talk in a PowerPoint with some minimal formatting. Once you have the content down, it's a lot easier to go from there. And as usual, if you have any questions about how you should structure it or what it should look like, please just shoot me a quick email. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. So enjoy the topics this week. I think these topics were some of the ones that, as a whole, the class was most excited about learning about, so I hope you enjoy it.